Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's April 9th. I started to do this, telling people dates, because I think it has to do better with relevancy. And I have a couple of comments to make. First of all, this is really exciting for me. And I also had to get up rather early to do this because I'm interviewing Rajita Nandyala, and Rajita right now is in India live, and I'm in New Jersey live. So I'm the one who had to sacrifice and get up on the early side. And it's an evening time in India, and through the magic of a Zoom, this is working out really, really great. So everybody, the title, which you'll see, of this interview, uh, uh, she's a professor, author of Unstoppable. She's a chef, a dancer, and a motivational speaker. So there's so much to unpack. The next bit of information in my monologue to share with you all is how we met, and we didn't meet that long ago. And usually I meet people on LinkedIn like 99% of the time, but Rajita and I met, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We met at Dr. Gloria Bachmann, MD, OBGYN. Dr. Bachmann is the director of the Women's Health Institute at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, where I've been on the advisory committee for 3 years. And every Tuesday, part of Dr. Bachmann's program at WHI are lectures that relate to Women's Health Institute. And there's this diverse, interesting, fascinating lectures. And I guess it was 2-3 weeks ago, Rajita was talking about the things she's going to talk about now. And, I go like, wow. I mean, it was so intense and so interesting and so fascinating that I rarely raise my hand at these lectures. And I'm usually in the mute mode. But I wasn't in a mute mode, and I raised my hand, and we chatted briefly, and then 2 or 3 days later, Judy and I were messaging back and forth, and here we are. We met last week, and we kind of structured this interview because there's so much to unpack in a life of such accomplishment that you've had. And it's a young life, when what you've accomplished in such a short period of time is wonderful. So I'm now at the end of my monologue, and Rajita, if you would just like to say hello, and if you want to do a real compact little bio before we jump in to the questions, be my guest and take it away. So do a little bio.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Calvin. And I really appreciate you for giving me a wonderful opportunity to be with you. And it's my honor and privilege to be with you all. And yeah.
Okay. So you have all these things, all these components of your title, but let's go back to growing up in India. I'm always curious, what were some of your childhood dreams when you were growing up in India?
It's an interesting question, actually. When I was growing up, I always, when I was a child, I always wanted to fly. When I saw aeroplanes, I always wanted to fly, but I didn't know where I wanted to go. That was one of my dream. And another dream was I always wanted to give speeches on the stage, because my dad used to be a public speaker, and he was a public figure. Actually, he was in a village, he used to arrange contracts and building dams and helping people who needed the most in the village. So that's how, whenever my dad used to give his speeches on the stage, so I was always inspired by to become like my dad. And when I was 14 years ago, when I was 14 years age, I always wanted to become a doctor to help people. But I didn't pursue my dream. So I encouraged my brother to become a doctor.
Okay.
So that was, yeah.
I don't know if you already mentioned it, but who would you say was the most influential person in your life?
I definitely say both my parents were most influential when I was growing up. Both my parents were people personalities, and like they love people and helping people, and they worked very hard to do projects and together, and they faced a lot of challenges, and I learned from them a lot of life lessons, like importance of the people, and also discipline, hard work, and dedication towards achieving things. And my most significant influential person is like a motivational speaker, Tony Robbins. So because I definitely give a lot of credit to Tony Robbins, and he made my life like find my gift actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some early point in your life, you left India and you went to the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Actually, it was a very personal question, but the thing is, I would like to share, because when I finished my graduation from science, I was a graduate student, and when I finished my graduation, I always wanted to go to America to do masters. But because during that time, one of my uncle brought a arranged marriage proposal. So I got arranged marriage when I was 21. So after my marriage, because due to peer pressure, I had to, admit that. Okay. So I had an arranged marriage, and then later I came to know that he was a chronically depressed person. So I was married to, and he didn't work at all. Oof. And I stayed in that abusive relationship for 10 years, over 10 years. And then I had enough in my life that time. And all of a sudden I said myself, I wanted to run away from him. And I wanted to run away from India, actually, to escape India. It's somewhere. And then I applied to US visa. So I got refused 2 times. Then finally I got student visa to UK. Okay. That's how I.
Okay. So, I like to jump around. So, with that background, but and I know you mentioned Tony Robbins, but was anything else inspired you to become a motivational speaker?
Yeah, when I was in London in 2004, I attended Tony Robbins' motivational seminar, Unleash the Power Within. So when I went to the seminar and I saw Tony Robbins on the stage and in front of 10,000 people, first time I saw with so many people, and I was so excited to see that many people. And when I saw Tony Robbins on the stage, something spoke to me inside. That's what I want to become. And I believed it.
Wow.
That I would become a motivational speaker. From that moment onwards, I never stopped.
Wow. And you succeeded.
And yeah, I definitely give a lot of credit to Tony Robbins to find my gift. Yeah.
So eventually you moved to the United States and you started a restaurant business. How about talking about that?
Yeah, it's a very long story, but I will make it short. So when in 2008, I got remarried to a doctor, and he was in the US that time. So so I went on a dependent visa to US. So in US it's a different system because whereas in UK, when I worked there, like with my experience, they promoted me from customer service assistant to chef, and chef to chef manager, and then relief manager. Then I thought, okay, same thing, I can work in US with this experience, work experience. But US immigration is different and their system is different. So I couldn't work there as a dependent visa because of that, my status. So I stayed in at home, like, without work 6 months. So it was very difficult for me to stay long, remain jobless for so long. So my husband helped me to establish a restaurant, and we partnered with a Pakistani cuisine, Pakistan restaurant owner.
Okay.
We named. That's how we established a restaurant.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. And alongside that, you also got into culinary management in Canada, right?
Yes, culinary management. Yes.
Okay. Did you want to just say a couple things, and what were you doing in Canada with culinary management?
Yeah, because after running 1 year of restaurant for 24/7, you know how the restaurants run, right? So it was so hard work, and I, after running 1 year, then I didn't see myself future in restaurant business. And during that time, my husband was planning to come to India to establish a hospital with his friends. Then I thought, okay, I always wanted to, establish in Western countries. So I thought it was very difficult for me to settle down in US because of, like a lot of immigration, like a green card I needed for working. So then I thought, okay, because if I wanted to pursue my academic career, so I chose Canada because Canadian immigration is very easier to settle down. So then that's why I entered into Canada, and I studied culinary management in St. Lawrence College.
Okay. Then you did something that's very unusual, and it's interesting. I never really knew much about it, but a year ago I had interviewed a young man who went to a silent retreat center, and he told me about that, and it was a new world for me because I'd never really encountered anybody. Now I'm encountering you, and you also went to a silent retreat center. What were some of your experiences doing that, and why'd you do it?
Yeah, a silent retreat center, because it's a very, very hard question. Actually, it's a lot to share, but I will share after my graduation from St. Lawrence College in culinary management, I started working in restaurants. So I worked like 7 days a week because I didn't want it to stay by myself so I started working. After 4 or 5 months I worked there, I didn't feel myself working in restaurants or owning a restaurant, and I lacked a sense of purpose, and I felt very lonely, and I feel like coming back to India and join my husband and my family. So then I come back to India. I went back to India. So when I went back to India, my husband and his friends, they already established a hospital, 32-bedded hospital. My husband was settling down there. So my family were very happy that I came back to India. So I'm with my husband and all. Then I worked as a marketing manager for 1 year in real estate company.
Okay.
So working 1 year, then I felt like it didn't feel right for me, India. So I said to myself, all these years, I went to UK, US, Canada, and worked so hard, and I didn't want to give up like that. I wanted somewhere to get permanent residency. like Canadian permanent residency, so that I got option if I wanted to stay in India with my husband, and my husband could join me in Canada. So that's why I said to my husband, I told him that I wanted to go back to Canada. So he agreed with me, and he said, okay, you can go and pursue your thing. So I went back to Canada. So back and forth, I think 2 times I went back and forth. This is the third time I went again. When I went again, I started working in the restaurants. One day I fell down in the kitchen. I slipped, and I think it was some oil was on the floor. So I slipped and I fell over myself, and I injured my back so badly. So I couldn't work for, I think, more than 20 days.
Wow.
And I really injured a lot, like a back bone thing. So I stayed at home for 3 weeks, no job, no family at home, and very cold winter. I felt more lonelier this time. And I said myself, I didn't want it to be anymore in Canada. So I told my friend, my close friend, Josette. I stayed with her actually. So I mentioned with her that I wanted to go back to India permanently. I don't want to come back anymore. And she said to me, your story looks like you're on a spiritual journey. Your story looks like eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And she bought a book for me. And she said, you need to read this book on the way to India in the flight. So then I came back to India. When I came back to India, this time my family said, this time you are not going back. So they were very much, my husband, my mom, and all my family, they said, you're not going back anymore. So I went back there. Then after 3-4 months, I started feeling the same nagging feeling, like something missing, confusion, lots of anxiety, so I didn't know whom to share because I was scared if I share with my family, and I went into deep depression. So I went to see a psychiatrist, doctor, and I took counseling classes, so counseling sessions with him, and nothing helped me. So one of my friends, she mentioned about Silent Retreat Center for meditation for 10 days. So I went to Silent Retreat Center.
Wow.
So there, it was like a 10 hours a day. It's a complete meditation, silent meditation. And we are not supposed to talk to anyone for 10 days, no phones allowed, and no eye contact. It was complete silence.
Wow.
So it was very tough for 4 or 5 days because just 10 hours observing sensations, entire body. That's all we did. So, but after 5 days, I started feeling some peace inside. And I felt so happier and light. I felt like a feather. And I was so happy. And after 10 days, I came out like a different person.
Wow.
My husband noticed my changes, my family all noticed. And I thought I am fine. I was fine, That's how I came out with that.
That's
It was
wonderful.
wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. You're the second person I've talked to about this. And it's so curious. Of course, I make, it's not that I'm making light of it, but spending 12 hours a day in this room by myself, doing the work that I do and the reading, and I'm finishing a second novel soon. And it's kind of like silent meditation, but nowhere's near what you did. And it's very intriguing for me to do that, maybe someday. So, this is an off-topic question. I didn't tell you about it. It's a simple one-word question. I always like to ask it. So I'm kind of springing it on you, but it's an interesting question. Excluding family or friends, name somebody you'd like to spend, living or dead, somebody you'd like to spend the day with. Not family or friends, but somebody living or dead that you'd like to spend a day with. I don't know if anything pops into your head.
You mean I didn't get you, sorry.
Well, I mean, if going back in history, if there's somebody living or dead in history or now, or somebody in the past that if you could spend a day with, who would that be?
My dad actually passed away.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
15 years, yeah, in 2005. When he
Okay.
was 59, he passed away with a heart attack. So he was my hero and he was my
Okay.
best friend.
Okay. Great
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Great answer. So now, jumping back into your life, which is so diverse, you've done work with drug rehab centers. Uh, if you could share, I mean, your background is so diverse and so giving. So part of you is the work you've done with drug rehab centers. If you could share some experiences and maybe some emotional, heart-touching moments, scary moments, working with men at drug rehab centers. If you could share that.
Yeah, sure. Actually, because I wanted to share how I entered into that drug rehab.
Yeah, that's part of it. How did you?
Yes, yes. Because after my silent retreat center, that meditation one, after 1 month, I started feeling more like a more confusion. I was so like restless, and I didn't know, I didn't see myself, not in, I didn't see myself in India. I didn't see myself in Canada. So I said to myself where I should go. Not India, no Canada. So where should I go? So it was so scared. I was so scared to share with anyone that time. So I didn't know what to do. So I went to washroom one day. So I started crying in front of the mirror, looking into my eyes, and I cried completely until I poured out all my waters, tears. Then I asked God, why am I feeling this? Why am I going all these challenges? I don't know. I am tired of this life. I don't know what to do. That's all I asked.
Wow.
Something spoke to me inside so loud, like, you will be better off in Canada. And all of a sudden, I was smiling and I felt so happy. And then I said to myself, I promised this time when I go to Canada, until I get permanent residency, I will not come back to India. I promised myself. Then I shared with my husband, I wanted to go back. And he was so mad at me. And he said, you are crazy, what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. So you are going back and coming back. So you are behaving like a child. So confused. So if you go back this time, don't even bother to call me and don't come back to India. And when I shared with my mom, she said the same thing. Don't, you become so westernized, and you're not listening to family anymore. You become self-centered, looking after only yourself, not with anybody. You are not, we made a big mistake sending you to the Western countries. So, and she said the same thing. She doesn't want to talk to me anymore. So, and with those harsh words, but I didn't have any choice. I followed my heart, and I went back to Canada.
Wow.
So when I went back to Canada, I was so desperate to get a job. So I got this job at a drug rehab center as a chef manager. But I didn't know what was the drugs. Actually, I didn't even know what exactly drugs and rehab center. I had no idea. My intention was 1 year working there and to get work permit and, getting a permanent residency was my intention to get there. When I entered into that building, I felt right at home. I felt so peaceful. And first day of my job, they hand over me panic button to wear on my neck for safety in kitchen.
Sure.
So part of my job was train clients, 6 new clients every week. Every week, 6 new clients come and I need to work with them in the kitchen. So that was the most scariest part actually, because I don't know who come from where. We don't know. I don't know. Most of them come from fresh from prisons. So I didn't even had any clue. But there was another part of me was excited. There I can help people. That was my exciting part. And I was excited about unknown. I never worked like that. So I wanted to see what it is. So I started working there like, with a fear, but excitement kind of thing. So until 3 months, I was working there one day I was very scared to go to work. So I got off the bus to go to work and it was peak winter and early morning. My job starts 6 o'clock to 12, like evening 6 o'clock, like a 12-hour work. So when I got off the bus, I saw the building. I was so scared to go to work. All of a sudden, something spoke to me inside. That's your temple. They are your guards. I said, I was so fascinated where this message is coming from. And I felt so happy. And I exactly took those words. And I entered into the building thinking that I imagined this is temple and they are my angels. So when I entered into the kitchen, I saw a big flower bouquet with thank you letters, thank you cards.
Wow.
So when I opened the cards, all appreciations.
Wow.
The client has written and the staff, and I was overwhelmed and I shared with the staff, this is what my experiences. And they said, this is God spoke to you. So you came from India to serve these people. It's a God's plan. That's what they believe that. So I really felt that day like it was God's plan. So I started calling them angels and I started giving them hugs. First time I started giving them hugs. So clients connected with me so beautifully. So then onwards, that time onwards, I started creating beautiful food, like a presentation. And with the music, while I was preparing the food in the kitchen, I was running the Bollywood music and I started dancing with the clients. I started teaching the clients dance. And I started giving a little bit of motivational talks for them to, do better in their lives. So they all instantly becomes like a part of my family. Like they become like best friends in the kitchen. So it was overwhelming. For me, overwhelming love and the respect. Within no time, I was connected with clients and they connected with me. It was a win-win situation. I found my passions and my purpose there. I think that is how I found my calling there. And from that time onwards, I never thought that was my workplace. It was a joy for me. Every single day was I never wanted to leave that place. That's how I ended up doing. And there was like a lot of heart-touching moments. And I would share with you one of the moment was one client, when he came to the Harbor Light, because they come with so much pain, right? So one of the client, when he came first time, and I generally give them hugs, and I encourage them to be open with me and make them feel home. So he said to me, I never remember when somebody gave me hug. And after so long, I'm smiling. I didn't even remember how to smile. and you are like my angel. And he cried so much that day. And that touched my heart. There were so many heart-touching moments like that, but it's, and can I read one of the letter, one of the...
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Actually, one of the clients, because of the clients, they stay there 2 months, and after 2 months, they graduate from the program. And before they graduate, they give a speech, like what are their experiences in the workplace, the drug rehab center. So one of the clients, when he was leaving, he worked in the kitchen, he gave a speech. So can I share that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Rajita represents what this whole program teaches us. She is my role model, someone I can look up to. Her commitment to do an amazing job and put 110% in everything she does, to the smallest detail, working unselfishly to please others and make them happy. Not only not only she have fantastic work ethics, but she approaches everything with an enthusiastic attitude, work, people, and situations. Rajita energy and the way she carries herself is contagious. Anyone working with her soon adjusts to the positive environment and to the kitchen energy. The kitchen became my safe haven. No matter what happens to me or what mood I am in, when I entered into Rajita's kingdom, I changed to be positive and happy. Her genuine smile and hug was a gift from universal love, a very special human touch coming from a deep well. Thank you for being yourself the way you are, Rajita. We all love you. So
Wow.
that
Yeah.
that was like, it was so much. It was overwhelming for me. There was so many incidents like this, and the people, and I couldn't even, my heart is filled with so much gratitude when I think of our like a drug rehab center.
We're not going to talk about this now when we go off the air. You and I are going to talk a little bit about spirituality. You come from a very spiritual place. You do a lot of spiritual things. You are motivated and guided, and that's one of the things that it's thrilling for me to listen to you, because I've had a spiritual journey myself, and the things I do, I certainly wasn't. But anyway, this is not about that. But I wanted to say we need to chat more off air about this, because your work and is fascinating. Let's see. So a portion of your life, somehow you take all this energy and what you're learning and your experiences, and you become a motivational speaker, and you started teaching at St. Lawrence College in Canada. How did that come about? I mean, you're a teacher in college.
Yeah. So you want me to tell how I entered into the college? Or
yeah, sure.
Okay, actually, this is a very interesting question, actually, because while I was working at one of my dream was to become a dance instructor. So that also I achieved, I did that. So while I was giving a dance workshop at St. Lawrence College, one of the professors, psychology professor, he saw me and he asked me where I come from, what I do. And when I mentioned about drug rehab center I was working, then he couldn't believe, and he said to me, coming from a different country and culture, you working with a bunch of drug addicts, I need to know more about you. So when I shared with him brief story of mine, and then he said, your story is very inspiring, and you lived like 4 lives already. So I want you to come as a guest speaker to my class and tell your story. That's how I entered into St. Lawrence College.
Wow.
So from there, he introduced me to the president of the college, St. Lawrence College. So the president was impressed with all my works, and he introduced me to the vice presidents and all the departments of the deans. So they offered me to give a keynote speech for Ontario 5 colleges professors.
Wow.
In 2017, I gave that, and on Algonquin College awarded me the honorarium award, sorry. And then from there, every department I started giving speeches, one led to other. So even in the Kingston community, and I started giving everywhere, like a Kingston community and drug rehab centers. So I started giving the motivational talks. So in 2018, my contract was ended in drug rehab center. 4 years I worked there, 2014 to 18. So after so long, I didn't want it to come out of that place, but my health, sometimes it happens, right? Like all the challenges comes. So my health couldn't take it. Like I was facing a lot of health challenges. So I had to give up my job. So when I ended up drug rehab job, so St. Lawrence College offered me teaching, part-time teaching job, which is, I started teaching personal stress management and culture and communication classes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, you and I, a little bit similar. I was asked to teach at Rutgers 2 years ago about careers, and because I bounce around and done so many different things. So that's a little bit of commonality. You also did some volunteer work in a prison.
Yes.
How'd that come about?
Actually, I believe that when you want something, the universe, bring all the opportunities. This is amazing how I ended up volunteering in the prison. Because in 2016, one day I was walking in front of the prison, actually, because where I live, that is the prison. So something pulled me, like that the prison side, and I felt like connected. And that day I said to myself, I am going to give speeches in this kind of prison settings. So one day I was teaching a dance workshop in at YMCA. One of my, what do you call, gym member, she said, Rajita, you are a very positive person. You should be working in the prisons. Like that she mentioned. I said, I would love to. And she said, I'm working in the prison. So if you want to work, I said, I would love to volunteer and giving speeches. She said, I know, I can connect with you people in there. So she connected me. So that's how I entered into that.
My next question is, how did you wind up lecturing at the Women's Health Institute at Rutgers Robert Johnson Medical School, and how I met you? How did you come to lecture there a couple of weeks ago?
You mean coming to WHA?
Yes, yes.
Okay, actually in 2010, when I was in America, my husband was volunteering in the Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, Bachmann. So one day, my husband, I went to the hospital with my husband, and there he introduced me to Dr. Bachmann. So, and we connected instantly, Dr. So, Dr. Bachmann, how she can, she's a wonderful
person. I know.
So that's how we connected. And I was so impressed, her welcoming personality. And I said to her, would you mind coming for a dinner? And I would like to prepare nice food and bring all your team. So they all came. So after our dinner, so I did one dance, and I encouraged everybody to dance with me, and they all loved. And Dr. Bachmann and who else? I think Diane and another person.
Sure, Diane, maybe Amy.
So 15 of us danced together, and Dr. Bachmann was very impressed, and she said to me, so would you mind coming to Robert Wood Johnson Hospital and giving a dance performance there and workshop kind of thing. That's how I entered.
Okay.
And recently, Dr. Bachmann, I shared my about my memoir, and she said, would you mind teaching, like sharing your story with all doctors. So that's how I gave that.
You mentioned a memoir, so kind of winding down, there's just two more things I wanted to ask you. What are the books you're writing? Now, part of the title of one book is Unstoppable, but that's just part of the title, correct?
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
and are you writing a cookbook too?
Yes, I'm writing a sushi cookbook. Yes.
A
Yes.
sushi cookbook. I think that's great. Finally, the last question, and I can almost answer it, having spent this time with you, I can almost answer it myself. Did you ever imagine in your life that you would be doing all these amazing things?
I never imagined in my wildest dreams.
But it's the universe up there that does the orchestration.
True. And I, especially working at drug rehab center and finding my calling there and getting all these opportunities and where I am, and especially meeting lots of people and inspiring and empowering people and teaching cooking classes, dance classes, working with a lot of different things. I never.
It's a wow, and I'm so glad that we had this special time.
Thank you.
For me to introduce you and to share part of your journey. This has been wonderful, and of course I'm so grateful to Dr. Bachmann, because she is just an amazing person and has transformed my life and allowed me to meet you, Rajita. So we're gonna close now. We'll of course invite you back anytime to talk about some of the books that you're writing when the time is right. But it has just been very special spending this early morning and at night over there with you, and I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you. See, the feeling is mutual. Actually, I'm very, very grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So signing off from New Jersey and from India, and you be well.